Hey, what's going on, guys? CrazyRocky here, and I know I haven't posted a video in a while, but today we're going to talk about something a little different than what I would normally talk about. Usually I would talk about a trending topic or news or something along those lines. However, today I want to talk to you about objective versus subjective morality. There are two prominent figures in the philosophy community on YouTube known as COMICSKEPTIC and RATIONALITYRULES, and they've talked about morality quite a bit. I've watched their almost hour-long talk about it. I've also watched the video that COMICSKEPTIC uploaded called Rationality Rules Debunked. I also watched Rationality Rules video that COMICSKEPTIC was refuting. I've watched COMICSKEPTIC's other videos regarding morality and regarding Sam Harris and things along those lines. So I really want to be talking about the Rationality Rules Debunked video today. Now, in this video, COMICSKEPTIC lays out the foundation for the objective versus subjective morality claim. And I really recommend that you go and you watch his video so you get a better in-depth analysis of what exactly these moral arguments are, because I'm probably not going to explain them very well in this video. However, I want to focus later on about the axiomatic oughts that are brought up in both COMICSKEPTIC's video and in Rationality Rules video. Now, the main thing that we need to know here is that the argument goes that you cannot derive moral oughts from scientific facts. For example, and this is the example that Rationality Rules uses in his video, he says, humans are killed if they are hanged. Tom is a human. Therefore, we should not hang Tom. Now, logically, this doesn't make any sense because it doesn't tell us why killing Tom would be bad. It just simply says that Tom will die if you hang him. That gives us no reason to believe that it would be wrong to do so. It just says this is what would happen. Then Rationality Rules goes on to bring up axiomatic oughts. Axiomatic oughts are oughts that are self-evident to us that we don't have to rationalize through or even think about. They are just true by nature. Now, Rationality Rules goes on to say that one of these axiomatic oughts would be reducing the suffering of your own child. This isn't something that you need to think about or rationalize yourself into. It's just something you do by nature. However, my problem with that is not every individual by nature has this inclination. For example, there are horrible individuals who have done horrible things to their children, raped them, murdered them, tortured them for many years, kept them in closets, things along those lines. So that right there for me just says, well, this cannot be an axiomatic ought because it's not always true by nature. While it is a fact of nature, it is not always a fact of nature. Now, COMICSKEPTIC goes on to say that the axiomatic oughts that Rationality Rules talks about are simply axiomatic desires. They are things that we feel we should do because of the way that nature programmed us. So then I got to thinking, what would be the difference between an axiomatic ought and an axiomatic desire? And what I came to the conclusion of is that the axiomatic ought would have to be something that is not a feeling. It is just something that you act upon regardless of how you feel or think. It would have to be good across all human beings. And also, it would have to be something that we can rely on again and again to and know that it is 100% true that this is an ought that people are always constantly living based upon. Now, the only axiomatic ought that I could think of like this would be, and this is based off of listening to a lot of Jordan Peterson, what Jordan Peterson says is that life is suffering. And in order to reduce your own suffering, you should pick up as much responsibility as you possibly can. Now, I'm not making an argument about whether or not that is the way to reduce your own suffering. However, it seems evident to me that when you look at not only humans, but all animals, every action every animal takes is ultimately to reduce their own suffering. Now, they may not truly know what would reduce their own suffering, but every action they take is according to this, is according to reduce their own suffering. Now, I can hear people saying, well, what about people that do self-harm? What about people that commit suicide? Well, in those situations, at the time, the individual would have thought that they were reducing their own suffering. When it comes to suicide, for example, an individual may think that to reduce their suffering, I am going to just take myself out of the game. Then I will not have to suffer whatsoever anymore. When it comes to something such as self-harming, it can be to display pain on the outside, could be a cry for help, and ultimately, in the end, seems to be something that is ultimately geared to reduce the suffering of the individual at hand. Now, this does leave room for subjectivity, however, based on the societal structure that one is born into. For example, murder is bad in the United States because if you kill somebody, then you will have a potential lifetime of suffering in jail and just rotting in jail. So therefore, if you will by nature act to reduce your own suffering, then to truly reduce your own suffering, you ought to not rape, ought to not murder, ought to not rob, things along those lines, because it will ultimately cause you suffering for the rest of your life by having to spend it in jail. So, this axiomatic ought does not allow us to derive completely objective moral facts, but it does allow us to derive objective facts on how to act within our society. And again, this is the part that I really want to harp on. It is not that we want to change the definition of good to reduce suffering. It is simply that you will act to reduce your own suffering. Therefore, to achieve this, you should do this. Now, that's a big distinction here because I constantly hear cosmic skeptics say that Sam Harris doesn't appear to be right because why should we change the definition of good to well-being? I'm not at all making that argument. I'm just saying it is a fact of nature that you will act according to this. Therefore, to achieve this, you should do this. Again, this leaves so much room for subjectivity because then if you were born into an Islamic country where Sharia law is enforced, then it would not only be fine by the laws to be able to say stone gay people, but it would also be moral because no suffering would be brought on to yourself. Now, this is, of course, a problem because it would be nice to be able to derive completely objective moral facts from something, but unless we have more axiomatic oughts than the one that I brought forward, I don't see how we could derive any completely objective moral facts. So if you guys disagree or if you have another opinion, go ahead and either leave me your opinion in the comments down below, respond in a YouTube video, do whatever you want to do, tweet at me at CrazyRocky. Rocky has a 0 in it. Yeah, I hope I got my point across. Again, please go watch Rationality Rules video and Cosmic Skeptic's video because I want you guys to get the best of all sides and see what everybody's saying and not just what one person or the other is. And yeah, I hope I was able to justify my point here today. So if you liked this type of video and you want me to do more, then just let me know in the comments down below. I have some more music dropping soon, so just be on the lookout for that. And I will talk to you all guys in the next video. Well, you know what? I barely hit this joint this whole goddamn video. Let me go ahead and give you a hit to go.